Hello guys, welcome back to a Coder's Journey. This is Mortaza and here I am in the next episode of the unit testing series at my YouTube channel. In the last episode, we added the unit test project with XUnit as our testing framework, and we saw that the project template in Visual Studio by default creates a class and adds a public void method as the first test method, right? And it decorates this test method with the fact attribute. Now, in order to be able to, test the production code, which is in this calculator class library, we need to have a reference to this, production code in our, test project, which was something that we did in the last video. So if I go to dependencies and then projects, you can see that I have a reference to the project, right? So in this video, I want to start writing the first test for the calculator class. Now, what I am going to do is to first rename the code file as well as the class to kind of, indicate what I am testing, because this class will of course contain the tests which I want to run for the calculator class. I'm gonna rename this to calculator tests. And then in the first method, I want to test whether the add method, right, the production code, when given two integer values, right, returns the correct result or not. So what I can do here is to just let me tell you this. When it comes to writing unit tests, a pattern that we use very often is to split the code in our unit tests into three phases called arrange, act, and assert. So basically in the arrange phase, what we do is we arrange the overall stage and the dependencies of what we want to test. So in our case, because we want to test the public method of this calculator class, so obviously we need to have an object of this class. So in the arrange phase, I'm gonna go and say I want a calculator, right? So this is the, object with which I will access this method and then test the, production code. So sometimes it is recommended to rename this class to SOT, which stands for system under test, which indicates that this is a class that is being tested. This is something this is the object that is being tested, system under test. But I'm gonna press Control Z and I'm gonna, stay with calculator. Now in the act phase, what we want to do is to invoke the method that we are testing, basically. So this is the, add method of the calculator object that we have declared here. So what I want to do is to say calculator.add, and then I want to pass in two numbers, right? 12 and 2, right? So this add method returns an integer, right? So we want to capture that integer in a value, in a variable, and we're gonna call this result. So we're actually, we're basically invoking the method that we want to test. We're providing the input and we are, capturing the result in a variable. And the last phase is the assert. In assert, we kind of verify whether what we expect to be returned from the method that we have invoked here is actually what we have here, what we are provided by this method. So here I expect that the add method of the calculator class, when invoked with 12 and 2, return the number 14. So I'm going to say expected is 14. It is a best practice to call this expected, right? and then I'm gonna compare result with expected, and they should of course be equal, right? So when we are using XUnit, we have access to a class called assert. Assert, as you can see, comes from XUnit, and this class has many static methods which can help us to verify what we get from the method that we have invoked with what we expect. So here I am using the equal method, right? And I'm gonna say I expect that the expected 14 and the result be equal. So if I press F12 here or go to definition, this is the assert class from XUnit, right? And as I told you, there are many static classes that you can use in order to check the result that you get back from the method that you have invoked. Let me go back to my code and let me run this test, right? So as I told you in the last video, what you can do is to go to Test Explorer, and first of all, I'm gonna build my project. I'm gonna go to Test Explorer, and here I can see that there is a test, calculator test.sum method. Let me rename this and say add method or add should return the correct result when invoked with two positive integers. Or I can say should return a positive number, a positive integer when invoked with two positive integers. So basically, when I wanted to rename this method, I kind of chose a name to indicate what I am testing. So I am testing the add method, right? And the scenario in which this method is being tested. So the scenario is that we are providing two integer values, right? And the result that we expect. So the result is that we expect the scenario is here when we are invoking the method with two integer values, and this is the result that we expect. So the method should return a positive integer. Now I'm gonna go to Test Explorer, and this is the single test that I have here, which I need to run. And look at the name of the test. So it says calculator tests, right? Add should return a positive integer when invoked with two positive integers. So suppose we have hundreds of unit tests here. When you choose a descriptive name for your unit tests, you are making your own life easier, or the life of other developers, whenever they want to run your test. So I'm going to run this. And as you can see, I've got, the test which passes. Now, if I introduce a bug into this method, for example, suppose instead of adding two numbers together, I am subtracting two numbers together, right? Two numbers from one another. So I am introducing a bug in this method. Now, if I go to my Test Explorer and run the test one more time, we will see that the test fails. And if I click here, it says that we expected 14. So we expected that the add method, when invoked with 12 and 2, give us 14. But what was returned was actually 10. So this means that there is, more often than not, a bug in the production code. So what I can do is to use this method, right? use this test method in order to, remove the bug. For example, I can come here and I can press F12 here and go to the method that this test method is testing, and I can go over the code and I can see, this is the bug. So I'm gonna, correct this. I'm gonna go back to my test explorer. I'm gonna run this one more time and the test passes. So this is the first unit test that we developed for this production code. I'm gonna end this video here, and please give this video a like if you enjoyed watching it. Also share it with a friend if you've got any friends who is learning how to write unit tests. And if you've got anything to say, just leave a comment in the comment section. Stay tuned for the next episode. Till later, bye bye.